Tell me about a time you failed. You already know the shape of the answer. Pick a real but modest failure. Own it, don't blame anybody, and finish with what you learned. That is the advice on every career site on the internet. And it is not wrong exactly. Here's the problem, and it's the whole reason I'm making this video. It worked so well that everybody does it. When roughly 9 in 10 candidates end with the sentence, "and what I learned from that was," that sentence stops carrying any information at all. The interviewer's ear has adapted to it. It's wallpaper. So this isn't another script for you to memorize. I'm going to show you what's actually being scored, a structure called SOAR that fits a failure story better than the one you were taught, and 3 specific upgrades that almost nobody teaches. I'm Robin, a career coach built by the team at Longbow. Start with what's actually being measured, because it isn't the failure. Nobody in that room cares about the project. They will forget the project. There are 4 things being scored while you talk, and every one of them is about you rather than the event. Calibration. Is this a real failure, sized appropriately to someone at your level? Ownership. Can you locate yourself inside it accurately, not too little, and not performatively too much? Change. Did anything actually become different afterwards, or did you simply feel something? And composure. Can you say it out loud without flinching, over-apologizing, or quietly redistributing the blame? 4 dials. The story is just the vehicle you use to move them. And the first one, calibration, you set before you open your mouth, because it's decided entirely by which story you pick. So let's do calibration properly, because this is where most answers are lost before the first sentence. Too small is the common failure. I once sent an email with a typo. I was late to a meeting one time. You think that's safe. It reads one of 2 ways, and both are bad. Either you're dodging the question, or you have genuinely never taken on anything where failure was possible. For anyone above entry level, that second reading is worse than the failure would have been. Too big is the rarer mistake, but it's fatal. A failure that's unresolved, or that's still playing out, or that ended somebody's job. That doesn't read as honesty, it reads as ongoing risk. They are not your therapist. They are deciding whether to hand you responsibility. Right-sized has 3 properties, and it needs all 3. It costs something real: money, time, a relationship, a deadline that mattered. It's finished. You can describe the ending. And it is not fatal for this specific job. That last one gets missed constantly. A story about blowing a deadline is a perfectly good answer for a research role and a disqualifying one for a delivery manager. Same story, different room. Calibrate to the job, not just to yourself. Now the structure, because the one you were taught actively works against you here. You know STAR: situation, task, action, result. It's fine for most behavioral questions, and it's poor for this one, for 2 reasons. The T is dead weight. Task is a description of what you were assigned, and nobody has ever been hired on the strength of a task description. It's a sentence you spend attention on and get nothing back for. And the R is the trap. On a failure question, STAR marches you steadily toward a result that is, by definition, bad news. So people either flinch at the end or start quietly inflating the recovery until it stops being a failure at all. So use SOAR instead. Situation, obstacle, action, result. Situation is 2 sentences. Where, when, what was at stake. Obstacle is what actually went wrong and your part in it. Action is what you did once you knew. And this is the longest beat, because the recovery is the part being scored. Result is where it landed, honestly, cost included. 1 letter changes where the tension sits. In STAR, the pressure is on the outcome. In SOAR, it's on the obstacle, which means the back half of your answer is about what you did, not about how bad it got. Upgrade 2, And this one you can test on yourself in about 90 seconds. I call it the pronoun audit. Record yourself telling the story. Then listen back and count 2 words, I and we. Here's what almost everybody does without noticing. Listen. We underestimated the scope, and the team missed the deadline. So I rebuilt the tracker and I brought in a second reviewer. Hear it? The failure is we. The fix is I. That person has written themselves out of their own mistake and back into the rescue. It is completely unconscious. It is extremely common, and experienced interviewers hear it instantly. It's the single clearest ownership tell there is. The corrected version. I underestimated the scope, and we missed the deadline because of my estimate. So I rebuilt the tracker and brought in a second reviewer. The failure is I. The consequence is shared because it genuinely was. And the fix is still yours. That's the ratio you want, and it's the one thing on this list you can objectively check. Record it, count it, fix it. And upgrade 3, which is where the answer is actually won or lost. Do not end with what you learned. End with what you changed. Learning is invisible and unfalsifiable, which is exactly why everybody claims it. A change is a specific behavior that a person could go and verify. I learned to communicate earlier becomes, I now send a written scope note before day 1 every time. I learned to ask for help sooner becomes, I flag anything over 2 days of slip in the Monday stand-up. I learned to be more organized becomes, I run a Friday check against the estimate. I've done it for 2 years. Notice what the right-hand column does. Each one is concrete enough to be checked. It implies the failure was real enough to warrant a permanent change. And this is the part people miss. It quietly demonstrates that you build systems after problems instead of just feeling bad about them. That is a hiring signal. I learned a lot is not. So all of it together. Pick a failure that cost something real, that's finished, and that isn't disqualifying for this particular job. Tell it in SOAR: situation, obstacle, action, result, with the longest stretch on what you did about it. Own it in the first person, and let the consequence be shared only where it truly was. And land on a specific thing that is permanently different about how you work now. Real, sized right, owned in the first person, and something is different now. That's it. And notice there's no clever line in it anywhere. The reason the standard answer stopped working isn't that it was bad advice. It's that it became a script, and scripts stop sounding like people. If you want to build yours against the actual job you're interviewing for, because the calibration depends entirely on the role, bring me the posting at longbow.careers, and we'll work out which of your stories fits that room. Go and record yourself telling it once. Count the pronouns. You'll fix half of this in one sitting.